Hi. So, lizard. Um, I had a comment asked me a while back to do a lizard tutorial. I am very bad about doing tutorials because I'm not good at explaining things. I don't like explaining, but I also had a friend also come and ask about how to make a lizard. And I have the time, I have the beads. I will try to teach the lizarding. I have laid my lizard out. I've broken it into pieces based on how I assemble my lizards. So let's just get into it. So what do you need for a bead lizard? You need beads. I used 3 different colors of beads for this one. These are just Creedology, which is just Michael's. You can use pretty much any type of pony beads that you want. I'm gonna move those out of my way. You need a cord. I am using my favorite kind of cord, which is called it's called Bonnie cord, Bonnie craft cord. It's a macrame cord normally, but I like it because I can melt the ends of it. My camera can focus, that's great too. But I can melt the ends of it, so it makes it really nice for finishing off my lizards, because I like being able to melt it into the end of the tail. You also need a hook or keyring kind of thing. I'm just using lanyard hooks because that's what I like to use for lizards. Due to the type of cord I'm using, I actually need a lighter too, so I have one of my lighters for melting the cord. I have so many lighters for someone who doesn't smoke, and I have them all exclusively for crafting to melt my cords and edges on certain fabrics. Also tape measure to measure the cord out. So I went ahead and laid out my lizard already, so you can pull together what you need. You can do various different patterns for lizards. Some people add more to the body, some people add less and they make it more rectangular. This specific configuration is my personal favorite lizard configuration. I've made different types over the years, and this is just the one I tend to default to, which is why I have a Halloween... actually, it's an Easter pail. It's an Easter pail full of over 150 lizards. No! It's over 200 now. I am over at 200 lizards in that bucket now. So I have a bucket with over 200 bead lizards in it. And that's not even all of my bead lizards. That's just the bead lizards I've made since, like, November of last year, so about a year's worth of lizards, but I made most of them between November, December, January. That's where a bulk of the lizards came from. But yeah, so for cord, you're gonna, whoops, that's my measuring tape. You want about 44 inches, so you have enough to tie it off. I don't need quite 44 because I don't tie the ends of my lizards off because, again, I'm using a specialty cord that allows me to get away with not doing that. You can't see me off the side because I'm just measuring it out. Oh, another supply you'll need is scissors to cut your cord, but I'm just going to melt the ends of this so it doesn't fray more. If you're using this kind of cord, make sure you're doing it in a well-ventilated area. Technically, don't breathe it in. If you're younger, please get an adult to do it. And you're seeing me grip the ends of it. Be very cautious if you do that. If you use this type of cord, you can just use string. Cotton yarn works really well, like sugar and cream. I don't know if I have a skein. next to me to show it, but sugar and cream yarn is very good for this. Just any pure cotton yarn. I've used the sugar and cream yarn for lizards in the past, and they still hold up. Like, someone that I had given a lizard to in the past had it on their backpack for multiple years, and they still have it on their bag, if I recall correctly. Anyway, fold your cord in half, put your lanyard hook in the middle, grip it so you don't lose the spot, and then wrap it around a couple of fingers, have a nice crossover, and then you're gonna put that through for a nice overhead knot. And I try to scooch this up as close as possible to the lanyard hook. And I do the same thing when I'm making like any form of bead critter, really, because I don't want it to wiggle too much. And just tighten your cord. But now it's nice and attached. So, but yeah, so you don't need to use this kind of cord, but you do want to have a nice stable cord, and that's why I say to use like a cotton yarn. I don't recommend using acrylic yarns if you're going to use it, and I don't recommend embroidery floss, and I don't recommend stretch cord. Well, I don't recommend plastic stretch cord that's too thin. You can make it with a standard stretch cord, like you can make it with like the beading cord. So like I use this cord for when I make candy, and I've used it to make things like this little SpongeBob star. So like you can use a stretch cord for some bead critter things, but my caution with using that for making bead critters that you're going to use as a keychain is that's going to stretch from the weight of the beads over time. And this is the other reason I say don't use acrylic yarn, is because acrylic yarn will also stretch over the years. Cotton will stretch a tiny bit depending on how you lace it, but it's a lot easier to acquire. It's a lot easier to use for younger people and people who don't want to use a lighter on the end of the cords. Also, you don't have to melt the ends of the cords. You can just tie this. I just prefer to light it, which is why I use it. I actually started using this cord because I bought it on accident, because I make macrame wall hangers, and I meant to buy 4mm, but this is 2mm, but I found it works really good for bead critters, so I use it for bead critters. Pete's, your necklace rolled up. I don't have any right on me to show, but you can see that once you get it threaded, this one doesn't stretch too much. Even if you like reef on it, it always kind of goes back to its original shape. This was a baby lizard I had made. This glows in the dark. These are glow in the dark beads. But yeah, you can, this is another example of like different shape lizards you could make. So like this is a baby, I call this my baby lizard because it's much smaller than like how this lizard will turn out. But you can change your configuration. Enough waffling. So we're gonna start with our first bead. So here's the nose. Stringing it onto one half of your, well, not one half, but one of your cords. Grab your other end, push it through, have both of them, and then just tighten it all the way up to your knot. And try to get it as even as you can. My camera does not want to focus on anything right now, which is really funny. Then we're going to grab 2, repeat again, put them onto the one cord, grab your other end of cord, put it through, and pull it tight. I'm also trying to be careful I don't knock my layout too much, because this table is slanted and the only thing that is keeping these beads up is the fact that they're on my desk mat. Next is the eye layer. So 1, 2, 3. So you want to keep the eyes to either side with your main color between so that it keeps the look of eyes. And once more, cross it right on through. Pull it tight. You know what's fascinating is some people refer to this specifically as a gecko instead of just a lizard. I've always just called them bead lizards, but I've seen people also just call them geckos. And a couple of the kits I've gotten over the years also refer to it as a bead gecko specifically. And I just think that's interesting. And then we grab the last two of the head. And we're gonna thread the cord through and pull her tight. And I knocked the foot. And adjust your cord, make sure things are nice and tight, nice and even. You don't want to pull too tight or it might cause them to bubble and warp a little bit. So there's your head. So now we're going to do our first foot. So we're going to take, these are the leg, and then 1, 2, 3 for the foot. Thread them all on. So take your cord end, and we're gonna not go back through these. We're only gonna go back through the one leg. So see how these are on the loop now, and that's on the leg. And I always grab the middle toe, and then I'll just pull it tight. Give it a little adjustment as needed, but there's your first leg. And repeat on the other cord. So we grab the leg first, and then we grab the toes. Put them all on so you have the 5 beads. Take your cord. Just through the leg, grab that middle bead, pull it tight. And there you have a head and 2 feet. And then we'll move into the body, which I will take these 2 orange beads, put them onto my cord, grab my other cord, lace it on through. I like this cord because it's sturdy for these kind of keychains, but it's not the best for things you have to go through the beads multiple passes other than just your basic ladder stitch. What was the one I struggled with? I want to say it was when I was making a mermaid. I had some issues with my mermaid because I had to go like back up through the tail. Was it the mermaid? I think it was the mermaid. There's been a couple I've struggled with over the years. So I specifically will do 2 beads at the base of the head, then I'll do my legs and do another 2 beads because it makes the legs go straight out. If you start going straight into the body with 3 beads here to just kind of widen it immediately back up, it'll make the legs splay a bit more, and I find they hit the head too much, and that's why I do it this way. But you'll see down here, I go from the 3 of the body to the 2 here on the butt. Because it makes the legs splay outwards and I think it looks nicer. So next we're going to take 3. So this is where the order is not as important. This is more of a personal preference type thing at this point. So in this case, I like making this little pattern in the center of my lizards. So for me, I have the main color, my little accent color, which here I've copied the eye color. And then I pull it tight. And then we'll take the next row, which is the middle of the belly. And you want to do... Oh, come on. You know you can be picked up all at once. But it's the main color, 2 accent colors, and then a main color again. So thread those 4 on. Grab the cord. Put it right on through. Pull it tight. And our lizard's starting to form. And then this is the last segment of the body. So it's the main color, accent color, main color. Thread it on, put the other cord through, and pull it tight. And now we're going to do the legs again. So, like before, you put the main leg color on. In this case, it's this purpley color. And then 3 toes, which in this case is the main orange color. Go back through the leg only, leaving the toes on the loop. And like I said before, I grabbed the middle bead. So in this case, I'm trying to fix my cord. So this cord is not round, it's flat. So sometimes it twists on itself and it'll make my leg twist up slightly, so I have to adjust it ever so slightly, but leg is still formed. And then on the other side, leg, toe, toe, toe. Totally radical. Also, do you like my Furby buddies helping out? They were on the crafting table and I was just like, put them in frame. It's funny. So, now we have a majority lizard. And then I'm going to put the butt, which is these two beads. And you'll see what I mean about the legs are gonna go on a diagonal. See? See how they want to point down now? So, had we done this similar setup where if we'd just gone from the 2 to a 3 on the body, it would have pointed up and hit the head. It's not like super noticeable, but it's enough to make me go, meh. You can make your tail kind of whatever length you want. My personal preference is 9. Typically when I make bead lizards, I tend to do them in 3 color variation, so I almost always have 3 colors that I can alternate in a pattern. And they're just, for the tail, it's just one at a time, beat them up, and lace them up. Or you can be an insane person like me and do this. If you've ever watched any of my other beading videos, you've seen me do this. But I pre-lace my beads all the time because I just find it a lot easier, especially if I know exactly what beads I need next. Like if I know where the pattern shifts, so like when I do my axolotls, I'll pre-bead like the whole body at once, and it just makes my life easier. But again, it's a personal preference thing. If you're not used to beading critters, it might make it a little finicky to get them all on there without falling off. When I'm doing larger projects, if I do that, I'll sometimes do a slip knot at the end of the cord to keep it from falling off, so I can kind of just throw it around with willy-nilly. I'm remembering the fact that a lot of beading kits will tell you to cut 4 yards or 4 feet of cord per bead lizard, and I think that's ridiculous. Anyway, there is your bead lizard, more or less. Or at least this is the way I make bead lizards. So if you were doing a normal, you can tie it off in whatever way you want. So you can tie it in a double knot, just like this. I'm not pulling mine tight because I'm not going to leave it like this. I'm going to seal it the way I normally tie my lizards. You can also do another overhand knot like we tied at the top here. Whatever is most comfortable for you and what you think is going to secure your lizard together. But like I said, I'm using a specialty cord so that I can melt the ends of it. Because the beauty of this cord too, I can actually fuse the ends of scrap together and then I can reuse that scrap on a different project. And I've done that before. I have this one really long worm on string candy that I made that is just all of, it's all scraps of cord I melted back together. But you can see it. This is why I like using this cord. And it's not going to come undone. So yeah, hope that was helpful. Bead lizard. Bead lizard. Bead lizard. I don't know what I'm doing. Alright, bye. A big thank you to my Patreon supporters, Submissive Dirk and Pierre of Mel. Thank you guys so much for your support. And thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!